get to be alive at a time to see it fall. I believe in the power of one person working as a team with other Christian patriots can have massive impact in reversing this ungodly culture. I believe that we have an omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent God that has put his hand on this moment in time to deny the timeline of the enemy and is about to heal our land. This is Rick, your host, and I believe that God has called me to empower Christian patriots with truth. Join us now for the Blessed Teach Show, and let's see what God is doing today.
Market volatility soars as trade wars, government debt, and global chaos shake the economy. But for centuries, gold and silver have been trusted safe haven assets. Overpriced coins may lose value. Call Kirk Elliott Precious Metals to invest in low-cost 100% liquid bullion. Kirk educates you, charges no commission when you sell, and helps you seize this historic bull market. Protect your wealth now with KEPM at 720-605-3900 or go to kepm.com/B2T.
Welcome, it's Rick B2T here. We're going to be empowering Christian patriots for the next hour plus, and we are going to be digging into the MSDNC. Of course, they changed their name to MS now because they're tired of Trump saying MSDNC. So now you'll see MS now instead of MSDNC, right? Or he had MS NBC, what they used to say, or whatever it is. But what we have here is the alterations that they made on the Alex Petrie, right? So it's like, wow, it's like they are the enemy of the people all the way. They want to take somebody that's not quite as attractive, maybe has some Jewish heritage based on his nose, etc., right? And all of a sudden turn him into this good-looking guy that just was innocent completely and was murdered. It's like enemy of the people is what we have with the media, the what we call the mainstream media, right? The whole Mockingbird media. It's why I started this channel, and it's exciting to see it be exposed. Yes. So the Dems to impeach Noem, and that's what they want to do. They just cannot stand anybody that's actually doing a good job, and so there's a lot of drama there between Tom Homan and Noem. We'll get into that as well. But then the election fraud reveal is starting to happen, guys. Eric Coomer in his deposition against Patrick Byrne. We'll dig into a little bit to that as well. So let's jump in now to some breaking news. Right now we see the Netflix is probably going to be doing this. Alex Petrie, American's doctor. Of course he's a nurse, and of course he's like black skin or dark skin. They've changed him all up. So why are they joking about that? Because they are being pretty crazy is what they're doing. So I'm going to pull this over here. Come start here. Alex Petrie interfered with ICE agents during earlier operation. This is brand new. Proving he was in the signal chat, right? We know that. And now we see that he was actually just a week before this was so interfering so much that they tackled him and he broke his rib. Right, the incident began when Petrie stopped his car after he observed ICE agents allegedly chasing a family on foot. So isn't that an interesting way to say that? He was actually hearing on the signal chat and tracking down the ICE agents and getting into the face of them during a robbery, right? During an operation. So they're doing an operation, and here's a picture of him. You can see he's got a pretty skinny face. And he's got a pretty big nose, right? Not a big deal. It's not like he's ugly or something, but he's not like this handsome guy that's going to be in the movies, right? And he's a nurse, not a glamorous thing. That's why it's so. But we will see later what MSNBC does, or MS Now, because they don't want Trump to say DNC anymore. But we see here it's been revealed that the anti-ICE agitator, Alex Preddy, who was fatally shot by Border Patrol administrators on Saturday, broke his rib 1 week before the fatal shooting. And again, he suffered a broken rib around a week prior to being shot after a group of federal agents tackled him. So this guy is he's chasing ICE agents. He's getting involved in trying to impede their lawful duty. The incident began when Preddy stopped his car after he observed ICE agents allegedly chasing the family on foot. Now, how did he happen to be there? Why? Because we know he's on the Signal chat. They're chasing down everybody. Anytime there's an ICE incident, they are trying to find him. The source said Preddy began shouting and blowing his whistle. So this is what they train you to do, right? You basically try to just make noise and go crazy and distract them completely. This is what we're doing. It said Netflix has canceled since Obama's movie of little girls. Yeah, so I'm glad people are canceling their Netflix, because that is pretty wild what they're doing there. That's T. Mitchell talking about Netflix is canceled since Obama's movie of a little girl. So imagine that means you canceled that, right? So let's continue. It says Preddy has allegedly told the sources that 5 federal agents tackled him and leaned on his back, leaving him with a broken rib. Preddy was released at the scene. I'm sure he was completely innocent then. He just happened to be driving his car, and he happened to see ICE chasing somebody. No, we know, because he was in the Signal chat, that he was told to go to a certain place, and he was going there to disrupt them. The source said that day he thought he was going to die. Is that interesting? Records reviewed by CNN show that Petrie was later given medication that was consistent with the treating a broken rib. A neighbor said that Petrie was part of a neighborhood anti-ICE signal chat. Ta-da! And it was being revealed that Petrie was part of that group of around 50 agitators who had turned up to confront Border Patrol agents while they were carrying out their arrest of criminal illegal aliens on Saturday. And the week before, most likely, right? That's how he found out. That's how he happened to be there. And now we see the enemy of the people, which is MSNBC, changing him completely. This is not, in my opinion, this is not just one of those simple Snapchat changes. They've made it, you can see how they've made his face way less long and not so and wider, right? So he looks less Jewish, just to be honest, right? This is seems that they won't want any narrative that a person with just Jewish descent, they have the, the anti-Palestine, the pro-Palestine stuff going on. So they make him look more like a regular old white American, darken up his skin, shorten his face, make his nose completely different. Look at how different the nose is. The nose is kind of curved over here, right? But no, they can't have that. MSNBC needs to make him a hero because they're the enemy of the people. They want to create what Saul Alinsky calls useful idiots. That's what this is. This is clearly the instigating violence. They want everybody to get mad that this good-looking, good Samaritan that was completely innocent he didn't show up with a gun. Of course he did, right? He didn't try to break up an ICE person that was spraying the woman, the agitator, to get her out of the way that was impeding the operation. He stepped in there, obviously, and he created the scene. And he's not this person. No, he's this good-looking guy that we have to change the narrative completely. That is what MSNBC does. So the left media uses that supposedly Snapchat filters on anti-ICE activists' pick. And you can see that the corporate media has been caught using a digitally enhanced and altered photograph of Agnew Petrie, the 37-year-old man who was shot and killed during the confrontation with ICE in Minnesota last weekend. The enhancements and alterations Petrie nursing staff photo aired by MS Now, which is interesting. I didn't know they changed their name from MSNBC, right? Resulted in a change to its jaw size added more color to his skin, added more detail to his teeth and beard, similar to the Snapchat style filter. So again, so you can see he has gaps in his beard there, and they kind of filled them in there. You can see it's a fuller beard, and chin is not so long. Nose is definitely changed up. This is the type of deception that just tries to get, okay, we've got to get a George Floyd type incident going here. We hate Trump so much, we have to do this. Those of you on chat, go ahead and chat with me. I can see both right now, YouTube and chats from, I'm going to say welcome to the YouTubers here. Welcome. And we're going to be digging into some Q drops and other things. So hold on to your hats, because this is getting fun, guys. This is going to be a fun couple months. It's going to be chaotic, and they're purposely creating chaos, and we're going to be here reporting on it all. So this is why this is so funny. And the Wokeness puts this on his X. It says, coming soon to Netflix. And it's got, now he's black, right? Now he's a doctor. Alex Petrie, America's doctor, right? Now he was a ICE agitator on the Signal chat, chasing ICE down to purposely impede from lawful activities of removing criminals from our countries. And it's so funny, if you go look at the stats, Trump's deported way less people than what Obama did or Bush's. And the amount of protests here, I mean, Tom Homan got a medal from Obama 9 years ago. Same guy, right? All right, guys. Hey, the sponsor of this episode is Healthy Technologies. Anna Kate, who's a beautiful, beautiful person, has done tons of research and just loves the Lord. She has pulled together all the top products based on all her reviews when it comes to air filters or cookware, because there's poison in your cookware if you're using Teflon of any kind, grounding mattresses and pillows. I love the hydrogen water. This living water is what I have in my house. This is awesome right here. It adds hydrogen. I actually have an under-the-counter deal that gets rid of the fluoride. They got systems that do the full house. But based on your budget, call her, and they will actually create a package for you specifically, depending on what your major things you want to have for healthy living. We got to fight this. We got to be detox and be healthy with technology as much as we can. Call 754-336-3394. There's also a link below in this video for healthytext.com. That's healthytext.com. Or call 754-336-3394. Get yourself the healthy technology that you need specifically for your needs at healthytext.com. Look at this. This guy literally says he plans to kill Trump. Let's listen.
This is Elliott Forehand, candidate for Ohio Attorney General. I want to tell you what I mean when I say that I am going to kill Donald Trump. I mean, I'm going to obtain a conviction rendered by a jury of his peers at a standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, based on evidence presented at a trial conducted in accordance with the requirements of due process, resulting in a sentence duly executed of capital punishment. That is what I mean when I say that I'm going to kill Donald Trump. Hi.
Whoa.
This is Elliott Forehand.
He's running for Ohio AG. So who do you think funded this? Obviously, this is the George Soros funded AGs, right? They want these radical AGs. It's cold out there in the storm. So, guys, this is crazy stuff to just think about it. But this is the type of, this is not just the crazies in the left that are useful idiots. These are useful idiots running for key positions. This is a well-funded coup using a color revolution. Remember that term, color revolution. That's what they used. This is the battle of a lifetime that a spiritual war that we need to be part of, because this guy literally would like to kill Trump in a different way. He's trying to say he's going to do it legally through capital punishment. But this is the type of crazies that we have out there. Trump turns to beloved border czar Tom Homan as fractures open the DHS. And this is interesting because this is really frustrated Kristi Noem. Now, Kristi Noem was way too aggressive about the way she painted the picture right out of the bat against Petrie, making it sound like he had the gun pulled and was rushing agents and stuff like that, which obviously wasn't the case. But the guy was stupid. He was going in front and impeding operations. It's a felony to impede the operations of lawful operations. And so the whole fact that he was there loaded with 2 clips is really crazy. So there's some drama between Border Czar Tom Homan and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and it's been they've been talking about it for quite a while. But recently, it's been reported that Homan has been sidelined by Noem, in addition to U.S. Customs Border Patrol Commissioner Rodney Scott, and that the two had an icy relationship and barely spoke. So again, this is probably drama that they always try to create in the Trump atmosphere. It just seems like it's always the case, right? They're always trying to do this. Monday has reported that Bovino and some of his agents would be leaving Minnesota after reaching a mutual agreement. DHS spokesman Teresa McLaughlin said late Monday that Bovino had not been relieved of his duties after rumors began circulating of his demotion. So this is Homan coming in, and they're going to reject him. They've already rejected everything that Trump's pretty much saying. That they said they kind of have a deal, but I believe this is part of waking up the public to the fact that the National Guard is going to be necessary. We'll dig into that more. Here's another article saying Noem demanded hours-long meeting with Trump after she sidelined amid backlash over ICE. So Noem sidelines Homan, and Trump has Homan and sidelines Noem. And so she's furious. Part of that's probably because she blew the initial portrayal of what happened with Petrie, and it's probably better to taking somebody that has tons of experience, and it basically shows that, hey, we send our best to work with you, the state, and you guys are forcing me to do the Insurrection Act, which I believe is where this is eventually going. They're trying to force it probably, and they think it's going to hurt Trump, but I believe it's going to do just the opposite, because the military is the only way in general for the end of this, right? So Homeland Security, Kristi Noem demanded a 2-hour meeting with President Trump. Trump held the crisis talks with Noem after he revealed Border Czar Tom Homan was headed to take charge of the Homeland Security efforts in Minneapolis. Again, Noem has faced widespread criticism after she was quick to brand Petrie a domestic terrorist who had charged at the officers while brandishing a gun. So that wasn't a good explanation of what really happened there, right? Trump says Noem's doing a very good job, though. So here he is supporting his people. He seems to always come back to this, right? So I got this new necklace that's way too long, but it's kind of a cool little cross that my wife got me. It's supposed to like balance your energy and stuff. It's got some frequencies in there, so we'll see how that works. Obviously, this cross is way too long, but hey. Let's continue. Noem faces criticism after 2 Americans were killed in Minnesota, and so I think might be a good decision in what he's done here. But here he is talking about Noem. See if this sounds
Yeah, please. I have. Yeah, I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget we had a border that I inherited, where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history, and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs and everything else. And that border is absolutely closed.
Now he's talking about 25 million. I thought that was really interesting that he's kind of gone up to that number, because a lot of people are talking about 11 million, but 25 million is what he's talking about. I think he's just talking about since the 4 years of Biden, right? Federal judge orders ICE chief to appear in court over alleged denial of detainees' due process. So I'm just telling you guys, this is the judges, activist judges, that didn't impede on Bush when he was deporting criminals, Obama when he's deporting illegals. No, this is they have a different standard for Trump. Anything Trump does, they fight. So here's another federal judge saying, "Hey, ICE, you need to you need to come to court because we don't like what you're doing," basically. So this is an activist judge coming in to basically say, "Hey, I want the director, Todd Lyons, to appear in court over the detailed illegal immigrants alleging not receiving hearings." So again, just think about how many hearings the J6ers got. They completely took our rights away as J6ers and completely treated worse than criminals, worse than even the detainees of terrorists. And now they want people that aren't even and those are citizens of the country. Mostly, almost every one of them did not have a record in the past of any arrest, and yet you treated them worse than terrorists. And now here's the federal judges stepping in to help. These are literally criminal aliens being deported, and these federal judges stepping in. So the difference of the right and left in a nutshell. Here's Charlie Kirk's memorial, people holding the candle, right? And here's what's going to happen with Alex Petrie's memorial. They're going to have cocktail bombs, right? Black Lives Matter symbols. You got Antifa symbols there. That's the, again, just if you understand the brown shirts, that was part of the, they fought communists as well as the Jewish people, but the point is they were used to beat up political opposition. Clearly, that's what that's what Antifa. You have to have muscle in the streets to cause problems, and that is what Alex Petrie was doing. Now it's interesting when you just look at the government fraud. That's what this is all about. Somali fraud and that's a tip of the iceberg compared to what's going on in Chicago and California. But let's hear about O'Keefe and what he's about ready to reveal.
Because, I mean, that's what you got to do. We got to, it's all economics. And when it's not profitable, and we got to follow the trail of this money too. You're right, these NGOs, but you've got the real believers. I get it. But you've got enough.
Well, I've got a video going out in 2 hours showing them admitting where they're getting the money from, Benny. I've got that coming out today. I've got undercover people in the mob, but I'm also telling you, and I'll report where they're getting the money from. I'm telling you, I was there. I witnessed it. These people are willing to die for their cause. I don't see conservatives willing to die for their cause. I don't see Republicans certainly don't want. I mean, they just want the money and the power. That's what you just effectively said. And by the way, thank you for your honesty. But I think self-preservation is the enemy of the American people. I think there's no accountability because there's no money in accountability. And it's the greed and it's the self-preservation that is out of control. And unless we change that about our friends, your friends, unless they get it, because these communists, they don't fear man or God.
And this is what these useful idiots are so useful for. They really believe. I mean, I'm sure Petrie really felt in his heart that he was fighting evil, and that he's been taught by the left-wing media. And it's not just the media; it's all the seven mountains of influence, right? It's the sports athletes, the what we call the entertainment mountain. It's the media mountain, obviously. Mockingbird Media constantly giving that in, and that's not just the news. It's also what's on your social media that they've now done a much better job of getting those same talking points in, and then it comes into the magazines, comes into the newspapers, so you get hit from your favorite sports person all the way to people that are in your media, and then you also obviously have the education system that's teaching this, and then your businesses, all these globalist DEI businesses that are screaming the same languages. And that's why they did all those stupid commercials. And then you've got the government obviously completely compromised. And you teach all the way up to the family and into the spiritual mountain where you have paid off people like Al Sharpton, as an example, that are completely designed to get people to hate all Republicans. So you have a right-left versus battle, when this is really we the people versus the elites versus the globalists versus the cabal of Luciferians. That's the real battle. It's not left versus right. We got to understand that. This is a color revolution happening right before us. We need to pray through this. Let's listen a little bit more to O'Keefe.
Christians claim to fear God. I don't see them acting that way, but
They
I'm
don't.
telling you, I was
They're
there.
Yeah,
I was there, and the mob surrounded me, and they will kill you if you are not one of them. And I'm not saying we should ever do that, but we do need people with the balls to be willing to I don't know, lose their money and be brave. I mean, we need people that are willing to do something. That people that love justice more than money. And that's what I was feeling when I left the area. But I'll have my report out, and I'll send you what we found, which is they're admitting what organizations they're with. There's a number of them, and some of the money comes from the government to these 501c3s. We looked up their tax returns. So the government's funding it.
100%. I don't doubt that one bit. There again, we'll dig into some of that, but I got to have somebody with the guts to push it.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that even the good politicians need the support of us, and that's not just our prayers, but it's also our actions, right? So let's use an authority in Christ plus our actions. Now, this is interesting. When we look at voter fraud, and it's all hitting. Trump is about ready to do a national emergency as well as an EO to do what we should do on the elections, because the Republicans won't get it done. All right, they are the ones. Remember, they've been selected as well. Most of the Republicans have been selected as well. So Joe Altman's been on the front line. He's going to be on the show in a couple weeks. A beautiful man of God who was in with Eric Coomer. Remember Eric Coomer? He was on an Antifa call telling everybody, F Trump, I'll make sure he does not win. And who is he? He's a tech guy for Dominion. And so Dominion happens to be the selected machines for all the swing states. Isn't that a coincidence? And they happen to all have these secret modems and remember, modems aren't these big cards you put in your machine anymore. They're smaller than a piece of rice. You can hide them on the motherboard. You can hide them in these machines. And so there's thousands and thousands of ways for them to be able to connect and fire up a virtual machine and change the votes and link into the voter rolls. That's why they have to have inflated voter rolls. Now it goes together. Inflated voter rolls with the machine flipping, matching it up. This is what they've done for 20 years, ever since Smartmatic came into the U.S. from Venezuela. That's how Venezuela got taken over by communists and became our enemies and destroyed their entire population with 8 million people leaving, and it's just crazy, a huge percentage of their country, and starving, 90% of the people being in poverty. That's what they did to Venezuela, and that was just to start. They went into the United States. Remember, at our local levels to start out with to test it, then they went to the state levels, and then they went to the federal level in 2020, obviously. And so here is Joe Altman, who was on the call with Eric Coomer, and he heard it, and he reported it, and he's been sued by Eric Coomer. So is Patrick Byrne and many others. So so now Patrick Byrne finally got Eric Coomer to have to do a deposition based on this defamation suit. And it says, breaking, I'm at the deposition of Eric Coomer. Again, he's the Dominion executive, was the Dominion executive that uses the derivatives of the Smartmatic software, just like ES&S and Hart does as well, because it went from Smartmatic to Sequoia, Dominion bought Sequoia. So all these systems were linked into Serbia to be able to flip the votes. They used to be in Venezuela. They moved the operation to Serbia so China could fund it, and they used Iran to do the transfer payments, Cuba being controlling Iran. So you basically had Cuba, Venezuela, Iran involved, but it's Venezuela and China really controlling our elections for the last 20 years. 20 years, guys. And it's not just us, 71 other countries. So this Eric Coomer guy is using cabal money, most likely, to sue everybody that talked about Dominion in any, or talked about Eric Coomer in any way. And he's sued Mike Lindell, Joe Altman here. He sued Clay Clark. He sued also here many other people. So I'm in deposition with Eric Coomer in the matter of Patrick Byrne and et al. Charlie Chain. Attorney for Eric Coomer assaulted Byrne's attorney, Peter Ticken, several times. Now, Peter Ticken is 80 years old. He assaulted an 80-year-old after losing the motion to suppress questions related to Serbia, China, and Venezuela. So I talked to you about this earlier, about Patrick Byrne actually knows the whole story. They have Venezuelan whistleblowers that they've been having to hide for 5 years so that the Biden administration and Venezuela didn't kill them. And now they're in here, and they've actually, one of the key Venezuelan whistleblowers met with Trump, with Patrick Byrne and Flynn, what they call the Three Musketeers. They call the Venezuelan whistleblower Zorro. He's now come out in the open, but he's not the only whistleblower. And then we have the generals that two came out confirming that they switched votes. And that's how they got control of the Venezuela 20 years ago, despite the will of the people. This is we the people versus the cabal. Venezuela has their cabal that took over and then took over our elections. So Eric Coomer doesn't want to talk about Serbia, where all the servers were that switched the votes in 2020. China, who basically controls Serbia. And Venezuela, where they got the software and how they were instructed, and all the Venezuelan technicians showing you how to run the Dominion's machines and switch votes. That's just a fact. And it's all coming out. And it's undeniable now. That's what's exciting is. But now you have this Charlie Chain attorney basically is for Eric Coomer assaulted Byrne's attorney Peter Tickton. If you know Peter Tickton, he's a beautiful man, but he's like 80 years old, several times. And so physically, I guess, because somebody asked him back here, he goes, well, that's the first time Grok has ever been even close to truthful. Says the Post retweets conservative podcaster Joel Altman live update from Eric Coomer's deposition in Florida. Defamation file suit Coomer, a former Dominion voting machine executive, against Patrick Byrne and Associates in 2020 election fraud allegations. Just kind of goes over this. So tensions escalated when Coomer's attorney allegedly assaulted Byrne's 80-year-old lawyer after the judge denied a motion to block the questions on Serbia, China, and Venezuela, underscoring ongoing legal battles over suppressed evidence in election integrity cases. That is exactly right. It says Eric Coomer is no choir boy. He's vicious, unhinged Antifa sympathizer, says Kat. Altman says 100%. So then they said, this is very true. It's what he's talking about. Trying to figure out the way to stop the hearing. So they're trying to, what does that smell? Oh, yeah, desperation. And then Joel Altman says he struck him, nudged several times, looking to start a fight. Have to say Patrick is a tough dude. So that is interesting. So Patrick Byrne is in here and that got heated because they know they're in big trouble. And so guys, this whole election fraud thing's gonna blow. I've been talking about this for 7 years. I'm so excited. Well, since 2020, I should say 6 years. And it's so exciting to see it finally come into fruition. Here's the libs of TikTok saying, wait, Somali Elon Omar had a fake winery which defrauded investors of millions of dollars. And that's what we're finding right now. How did Elon Omar make millions from a 100% fake winery? This is insane. We investigated. Check this out. So Elon Omar lists a California winery on her financial disclosure. You can see them below. The winery was named EST Crew LLC. In 2023, it was valued at $15,000. In 2024, $5 million. So a $15,000 investment all of a sudden turned to $5 million. This was a very successful winery to grow that much value over 1 year, except the winery doesn't even exist. No phone line, no physical winery, social media gone dark. barely functional website. No wine, LOL. What is this? It gets worse. Omar's third husband, Tim Minette, has been accused of defrauding investors through fake winery. He was sued by the investors for millions because it's all fraudulent. This is on brand. Minnesota's AG Keith Ellison previously worked with Minette, the same AG who refused to investigate widespread Somali fraud. So this is Keith Ellison, AG. I cannot wait till these Soros AGs get completely exposed. Right, that is going to be a beautiful thing. All right, I see some people making some chats. See if I missed something here. DJT is rallying to help the midterms. Yes, the rallies are starting to stop. That's starting fun. I think he's in Iowa right now. Yeah, so it is going to be interesting. How does the non-existent winery jump from $15K to $5 million in 1 year when the company is a ghost? How can Omar claim this fake company provides her millions in assets? Seems like a cover. Ironically, one of the wine's labels they made was literally called The Devil's Lie. The Trump administration and Republicans in Congress must investigate this fraud further. So Benny Johnson's actually showing this, and it's beautiful to be able to see this all get exposed. Here's Trump. I'm hearing that the great country of Iraq might make a bad choice. So now we're getting into where Iraq has a bunch of Iranian proxies, and they might reinstate this Nouri al-Maliki as the prime minister. Last time Maliki was in power, the country descended into poverty and total chaos. That should not be allowed to happen again. Because of his insane policies and ideologies, if elected, the United States of America will no longer help Iraq. And if we are not there to help, Iraq has zero chance of success, prosperity, and freedom. Make Iraq great again. So Trump is using his power of the purse, the tariffs, and all the aid that we give it to make sure that we are not putting these globalist elites in place. And that's why we had to get rid of Maduro. And that's why most likely I think we will probably get rid of Iran's leaders here shortly. This is part of the cleanup operation of the purposeful forever wars. And they create that by creating these states, such as give money to Israel, give money to Iran, they always fight. Give money to the Palestinians, give money to Israel, they fight. And then you surround Israel with Hezbollah in the north and Lebanon. Then you put Houthis in the south, and then you directly support Hamas, and then they give money to Assad at the time, and they're always fighting, right? And so the only way you can get even close to stability is try to get and people always talk about, oh, don't do regime change. Well, it's the regime change of the purposeful elites trying to get fights between each other. Is a huge difference between what Trump is doing, is using the power of the purse to motivate people to put the right people in power that are not going to create forever wars. Here's Trump. The crowd goes wild at the national title game when Trump was there. And crowd went wild when he was there. It's pretty cool to see that. He retweeted that as well. That's just, hasn't been done much on his True Social the last 24 hours as he's doing the rally in Iowa right now. Let's talk about Q drops a little bit. It's interesting to look back at some of them. It's called Future Proofs Past, right? And as it gets people to think and start looking at things. So these different people recently, you'll see almost all these are pretty recent. This is January 26th, yesterday. Post about Q drop 22. Looking good right about now. Let's go. The Q drop you're referring to is Q drop 22 from November 1st, 2017. It poses a series of questions about the military coordination, including the specific one about the National Guard. So here it is. Who controls the National Guard? Why is the National Guard recently activated in cities within the U.S.? Can the National Guard work in coordination with the Marines? See how the Socratic method is asking questions until people research and they start realizing in a national emergency, yes, the Marines can work with the National Guard. Do conditions need to be satisfied to authorize? And the answer is yes. You have to have the national emergency. that's probably coming soon. What former president used the military to save the republic, and what occurred exactly? If anybody goes research that, you'll see I think it's primarily talking about President Lincoln and what he did there. And he arrested a lot of people in the media, and he suspended habeas corpus, the bill really for a trial for a certain period of time, and went to military-oriented type so that we would be set up to go to military tribunals and put National Guard in the streets, helping the Marines keep order from the brown shirt, Antifa, and the whole paid Black Lives Matter, all these paid agitators. And that is we're seeing this happen in a very, very coordinated way in Minneapolis, and I think that is just to wake up people to show what is really happening here. Now, here's another anon kind of looking at this. Is Trump's role as chaos agent and the true essence of Q. It called it inner awakening. So this is interesting. I thought this might be good just to kind of look at how some anons are thinking. It says, in a world drowning in division, deception, and distraction, I've spent years noticing patterns, piecing together the puzzle of what's really unfolding. A critical thinker familiar with Q, I've come to a perspective on Donald Trump's role in the Q phenomenon that flips the script on mainstream narratives, both pro and anti-Trump. It's not about blind allegiance or outright rejection. It's about recognizing Trump as a deliberate chaos agent, a disruptor engineered to expose the flaws in our system and force a collective awakening. Is that not happening right now before our eyes? And Q is far more than cryptic drops about political intrigue. It's a multi-layered pointer to inner sovereignty, urging us to think for ourselves and reclaim our power from within. That's exactly right. God wants you to think for yourself, obviously, right? He says the Holy Spirit's going to come and teach you all things. So if you have the Holy Spirit in you, he wants you to use your own discernment, right? And don't listen. You don't have to listen to all the prophets and let them decide how you should think. You should basically test those spirits, like 1 John 4:1 talks about, and you should think for yourself using the power that the Lord's given you. And so this is a biblical concept that Q talked about all the time. Think for yourself, asking you questions to research, getting these great researchers to research. Let me break this down clearly, step by step, because sharing this could spark a real change we need. Not top-down salvation, but bottom-up empowerment. Trump as a bad guy mirror, exposing the old power structures. Do you realize Trump isn't here to save us in the traditional sense? He's playing a role of the antagonist in a grand theater, acting out the absurdities and excessive of old power paradigms. The uniparty illusion of left versus right, the ego-driven traps of politics, and the manipulative games that keeps people passive. And that is so true. And they do it in every country. There's almost always a right versus left. One party will start getting a lot of power, and then they'll put a lot of emphasis on giving these guys more power. It's always this right-left battle, right? So that we won't see who's really in control, the puppet masters of the globalist cabal of Luciferians, right? He makes the corruption and control mechanisms painfully obvious. It's like holding up a mirror to society. Look at the madness. Do you see how broken it is? And everybody's seeing how broken this judicial system is. It's a captured operation. Everybody's starting to see how crazy, the craziness. Here's the key. Trump's chaos isn't meant to be embraced or followed blindly. It's a trigger. We, the people, have to actively say no and stop it. We can't sit back passively expecting him to fix everything. If we do, we perpetuate the very dependency he's exposing. Instead, his disruptions force us to reject the old ways, step up, build something new. He's collapsing the system, not to rebuild it in his image, but to awaken us to our own agency. Without this rejection, real change stalls. Trump functions as a catalyst. But the transformation, that's on us. This is real key. Some people say, oh, the Q drops say go eat popcorn and don't be involved. And that's a psyop by the CIA to get you not to fight the cabal. That is such a lie. I mean, he's talking about eat the popcorn and like Philippians 4, 6, and 7 says. Don't be anxious about it. And things you can't control, enjoy watching the movie, watch the show, right? It's a real movie with big consequences. But then you need to be involved, fall into your calling, jump in, and we have to transform this country from the bottom up, right? That's the way the Constitution was designed. It isn't anti-Trump. It's appreciative of his role as a disruptor who shatters illusions. I disagree with following him unquestionably. That's just swapping one authority for another. True freedom comes from seeing through the act and acting ourselves. And there's a lot of people right now in the conservative movement arguing over what Trump's doing right now. I think it's kind of funny that everybody thinks they're smarter than Trump because he knows a lot more than us. He keeps his enemies closer than his friends, right? And that's the Sun Tzu art of war, and we're seeing that. And this is kind of those of you that can see the video, shows Trump, jail, Q drops, chaos agent, a potential spiritual pointer, exposes power structures. This is all about the fake news, the Great Awakening. Kind of a cool little meme there that they have. This continues. Trump's role as chaos agent and the true essence of Q, a call to inner awakening. And inner not just within us, I think it's also within the country. If we don't fight for our country, we're going to lose it. The multi-layered truth of Q. From political drops to inner sovereignty, Q drops aren't just about decoding conspiracies or waiting for the plan to unfold. They're designed with multiple layers, each valid in its own reality. But the most essential one, it's about inner awakening and reclaiming personal sovereignty. And I would add, that is your authority in Christ that we as Christians can take to see this change. On the surface, Q exposes political corruption, the deep state, and the fake divides that control us. Aligning with Trump's disruptive energy, drops like those urging the Great Awakening highlight becoming sheep no more, emphasizing diligence and independent research. That is so key, guys. That's what it really was about. It made people go do their independent research, and it made me research. So when I started this channel, I was researching what all these great detailed researchers were exposing, and then seeing, well, does that make sense or doesn't it not? And then I would put a show up, and I'd put all these tabs up on my computer, and I'd go live at night while I had a full-time job. And you guys appreciated that. That's why the YouTube channel grew to nearly 110,000 subscribers before they took me out, right? But now they regret it because we're on 20 different platforms now. I think we're live on 6 or 7 right now, and then it goes to BitChute and Brighteon and all the podcast platforms. So it's like 20 different platforms. So that's what you did. You powered non-YouTube, non-Facebook, non-Instagram proliferation. And now I'm bigger on Rumble than I am anywhere else because it's a free platform. For instance, Q drops 3662 states, think for yourself, trust yourself, do due diligence. You awake and thinking for yourself is the greatest fear. The phrase think for yourself appears in 27 drops and the Great Awakening in 53. Great Awakening, awaken and start thinking for yourself, right? That's what Q is about. It was a psyop against the deep state, but it was Trump's back channel, or the plan's back channel to the Anons to do massive research and to awaken us. Right? I don't consider myself an Anon because they're the ones that just do detailed research, and I was reporting on that. I'm more of a digital soldier like you are. Right, so hey, make sure you thumbs us up, share this. Is the only way we're getting this message out. But dig deeper, and Q becomes a spiritual pointer. No outside comms. It's just about secure channels. It isn't about just secure channels. It's a call to tune your inner guidance, the quintessent source within. And now they talk about this Kundalini, which is, this person's obviously New Age. You don't need the Kundalini spirit. But it is your inner being that the Holy Spirit resides in, right? And they talk about ascension, and this is ascension from understanding where you are, getting closer with God, so that you're literally falling to your calling, and then God flows through you, and his power and authority is there with you, right? All interpretations are true. The political layer drives action against corruption, while the esoteric one fosters profound personal and collective rebirth. The irony of some Q communities, they devolve into passive waiting, trusting leaders to handle it. See, I just disagree with that. I think almost the most active people I know that are at the Reawaken tour, that are doing their own, they all understand Q. Many were awakened by Q. That's the opposite of Q intent. Exactly right. Q's intent was to activate us. The Great Awakening isn't about blindly following the men in charge at some frame. It's active inner work, volunteerism, and community support, and great starts. But true sovereignty means rejecting intermediaries and awakening your own power. This ends with this: why this perspective matters, a path to real change. In my view, embracing this lens changes everything. If we see Trump as the mirror and Q as the inner call, we stop being spectators in some else's show. We become creators. And this is what he talks about. This is the interactive movie, right? So you're watching the movie. You're eating the popcorn from a perspective of not worrying about what you can't control. But then you're active as you learn and understand what's going on. We become creators, actively contributed through critical thinking, pattern recognition, and passive society actions. This isn't about groups or labels. I'm not MAGA, anti-MAGA, or anything in between. I'm just a noticer familiar with the Q depths, urging us toward unity beyond division. Imagine a world where people awaken inwardly, sovereign, interconnected. No more traps of blind faith or passive hope. That's the better future this perception unlocks, and where we build a new, triggered by chaos, but guided by an inner light. You know what that inner light is? That's Jesus. If this resonates, share it, question it, think for yourself. For more of my takes, like Q as a pointer to inner essence or the alchemical ice of awakening, check these threads. So this person has a bunch of other threads. What do you see in a mirror? Let's awaken together. Right, and there's another final meme here. Q drops as multi-layered pointers to inner awakening for humanity. Chaos agent. Trump is a chaos agent exposing old power structures. Has he not just exposed these power structures in a big way? It's like, yes. And so Missy's saying, we have to continue to pray. That's exactly right. This is exactly right. And people are talking about potential MAGA losing the midterms. I believe we're going to have the emergency order because of the election fraud. That's going to come out after we show them with all the Venezuelan whistleblowers coming out and all kinds of to justify the national emergency and justify the one-day voting, count the votes in the precinct, probably restart the voter rolls completely, military-run elections, one-day voting with voter ID, obviously. This is all coming. I believe that. All right. Praying yes, says T. Mitchell. Yep. All right. Let's continue here. Here's another Q person, Denise Pace, looking at a Q drop. Says, in addition to Q 2403, and she's replying to this, Q 1432 and Q 1886 below are the only 3 of 14 drops containing text related to Ephesians 6. And again, this is a big part of what Q points to all the time, is your armor of God. It's awesome. It's like, finally, be strong in the power of of mighty God, and put on your full armor of God so that you may take your stand against the devil's schemes. That's Ephesians 10 and 11. And it continues to go down into for we fight against not just the powers, that we fight against principalities, against the powers of this great world, right, and against the evil spirits in the heavenly realms, right? So it's much bigger than this. That's Ephesians 6:13 and the gist of that. And then you get into Ephesians 6. That's 12. And then 13 gets into to finally put on your full armor of God. Therefore, put on your full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you can take your stand. And after you've done everything to stand. So it's so important to understand your armor of God, right? and that because there's a day of evil coming, and we need to take our stand at that time. And it looks like with all this chaos, it could be soon. But then it lists the 6 pieces of armor of God plus praying in the Spirit. So there's really 7 if you think about it, right? So put your belt of truth buckled around your brace with your breastplate of righteousness in place. Take up your shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. And take your helmet of salvation, your sword of the Spirit, and which is the word of God. Those are the 6 pieces of the armor of God. And it says, then pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. So that's Ephesians 10 all the way through Ephesians 10:18. And he's posted that multiple times. So Ephesians 6, put on the full armor of God. And that would be on Q's private board where only Q team is allowed to post. Patriot Fight post. So this is all these different boards that she's talking about. But you can see, here it is. She put it in here. This is the whole, finally be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So it puts it all the way in there. Beautiful. Ephesians 6, 10 through 18. And that's what I memorized because I love to make sure I'm always putting on my armor of God, right? And you'll see a couple of times it was posted in there. I started thinking about patterns, and I've noticed that while building topical this month, I can't see it yet, but since there's a pattern related to time and timing, so she's looking at this. The Patriots Fight board is Q's private board where allowed to post, and you start looking at. She's just pulling together all these patterns, and so. And so she's talking about just really how do you pull all this together. These are researchers doing research. That's the exciting part about this. But I just want to point out that the armor of God in Ephesians 6, 10 through 18 is put in there multiple times by Q on purpose because we need to put on our armor of God to fight this battle. Right? That's what Missy D's I think agreeing with here. I believe that too, Rick. It's going to be exciting as we fight and win this battle. We really need help. Trump's plan to fast-track rebuilding fire-ravaged LA brings victims relief. And the fact is that these Democrat-based states and counties and cities, they don't care about the people. That's what you can really see that. The president on Friday signed an executive order to speed up the rebuilding process after the Pacific Palisades and Eastern fires tore through the area in New York. So that's been a battle between him and obviously Gavin Newsom for quite some time. Here's a woman charged with torching a GOP headquarters in Texas. Of course, she has a nose ring in, and she's what you would call one of these useful idiots. And that is part of the regime change, to part of the color revolution. You have to have people that really think they're doing good things by wanting to kill Trump, for instance, for wanting to destroy the GOP headquarters, right? This happens quite often, right? This is a 21-year-old faces arson and burglary charges in New Braunfels, Texas, after she allegedly tried to burn down a county Republican Party headquarters, right? So this Grace Carol Brown, 21, was arrested Thursday, and this just shows, again, this whole theme of the color revolution that's been unleashed on America. They want us in a civil war, and then they can come in and what they wanted is to have control of the presidency, which they're trying to get back after impeaching Trump after 2018. It's not going to happen for them, guys, especially if you get involved and use your power and authority in Christ. This is more money is being returned to you. The average working family can expect nearly $4,000 back this tax season, about $800 more than last year. That's what happens when Republicans are in charge and we put America first. That's Speaker Mike Johnson talking about that. But tax refunds have increased. This is Trump with his tax cuts and extending them. Democrats were going to get rid of them. If we had Kamala in power, guys, wow, I'd be in a gulag. We'd be, those of you who didn't get arrested would be in broke, right? Because inflation would have continued to flare. The invasion would have continued. Florida Department of Health found 26 top children candy bars contain dangerous elevated levels of arsenic. That's right, arsenic. Black Forest Gummy Bears, Laffy Taffy Banana, Nerd Grape, Nerd Strawberry, Nerd's Gummy Cluster, Sweet Tart Original, Sweet Tart's Rope, Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers, the Hershey Company, Hershey Cookies and Cream, Jolly Rancher Hard Candy, Jolly Rancher Hard Candy Strawberry and Sour Apple. You had this Twizzlers Strawberry, Twizzlers Cherry, Twizzlers Watermelon, Nestle Kit Kat, Mars, Three Musketeers, Snickers, Original Skittles. It shows you how much PPB was in there. Sour Patch Kids Tropical, pretty crazy. Fruit Chew Lime, even these Tootsie Roll Industries had of it. So there's a lot of analysis going on. What are they're really trying to make us sick. They have, the elites they hate us. They want to make us sick. Our children sick, us sick, our dog sick, our cat sick. They hate us. Woo! Guys, I want to let you know that this whole ministry has gone beyond me just doing the show. It's now gone to where over 29, I think 30 as of tomorrow, shows with 25 different people. We're going to be 100 shows by the end of the year are coming into what we call Faith and Family TV to do 24/7 channels. So you can find those right now. Just go to faithandfreedom.tv. Faith with the N freedom.tv. That's the web app, and it's all about 70-80% of that's all free. You can upgrade for like $4.99 to get a little bit more, or $9.99 if you want everything. But it's pretty much free, everything there. And we got free Rumble channels that are showing these 7x24 channels as well. If you go to this faithandfreedom.live, Faith and Freedom, Faith with the N as in Nancy, freedom.live, that'll bring you to all the Rumble channels. You'll see all these right here. So like right now, I'll refresh this. This is my feed of things I'm following right now on Rumble, right? And you can see right here is my smaller channel called Faith and Freedom TV. But there's like 6 people watching that right now, 24/7 channel. The larger ones right there, there's 49 people watching right now while we're live on this channel actually. But this is a 24/7 broadcast on this channel. All right, so I'll send you guys there afterwards. There's also a Growing with Faith channel. This would be growing your faith.live. We'll get you right here, right? There's also a Biohackingville channel that we have. You can see there's 8 people watching it right now. Biohackingville.live. Those are all free 24/7 Rumble channels, right? But to get to all the content, you go to Faith and Freedom TV. That would get you to this full list of thousands of videos, as well as live events, live shows, and that's also got the 3 24/7 channels broadcasting there live at the web app. There's also a web app. I'm sorry, a website that is faithandfreedom.org, faithandfreedom.org, and that's where I put my blogs each week. So again, this is where you can get to everything anyway. So faithandfreedom.org will get you to everything. But it's so fun. We got Amanda Grace, we got Sherry Tenpenny, we've got Lance Waldau, Donnie Clement, Perchuska, just beautiful people of the Lord that love and patriots that love this country. Some of them are listed on here. Some of the ones that I've just joined, including I think I mentioned, and here's a bunch of. If you go to faithandfreedom.org, you're going to see a ton of shorts. There's Donna. You can see that Amber May. You can see the Resistance Chicks, Larry Ballard. Just beautiful. This is the Word at War does a fantastic job as well. But Lance Wallnell's got his show on here. The Dear Anna and Ruth, Anna Kate's got her show. Kent Henry and his music's on there. The Resistance Chicks doing just great work. So again, this is all, you can download this not also on your Roku, Fire TV, iOS, as well as your Android, on both your mobile phones as well. It's on the TV. So TV, phone, as well as on Roku and Rumble. So you guys will enjoy the whole Faith and Freedom TV network. Wanted to end with just talking about silver because it's like, wow, 112 right now, guys. Again, I've been talking about this since it's been $22, but this is before Trump's gone to the gold standard, before the banks have collapsed and we move to crypto as our exchange, a new financial system. So my belief and talk to talk to a advisor. You want a financial advisor, I recommend Kirk Elliott. He's the one I work with to do all my silver purchases. Many people, including the Asian guys, talking about $300 silver, maybe even this year. Okay, some people are talking about $150 silver. No, not many people are talking about this. Is the beginning. It's $100 in my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, but Kirk is. You can call him at 720-605-3900. At 720-605-3900 and get a free consultation. Again, if you're international, you can get a U.S. bankroll easily, and you can store the silver in the vault that I do, and that is in Texas here. And it's all insured. It's all brick security, right? And he does, again, a beautiful job of no back-end commission. It's like a commission up front that's very reasonable, and you have no back-end commission, and he sells you the most silver you can get for the least storage cost. It has been a blessing for me, and I believe it'll be a blessing for you too. That's why I keep telling you guys to make sure you understand that. If you just look at the chart here, this is looking at just what happened today. But if I just look at like the last 2 months, it's been just crazy, guys, to go in the last 2 months from a low here of $50 to the 112 it's at now, right? And if you look at the 5-year, it was kind of stable here for quite a while. In fact, it went to as low as $18 here in 2022. And so that $18 has obviously turned into 112. But if it's going to go to 500, some people see 300, there's still much to go. And that's why you probably want to go ahead and call Kirk Elliott, get your free consultation, 720-605-3900. Hey, with that, guys, God bless. We're going to tonight. Tomorrow night, we're going to be teaching on the final series of the God's promises to Israel and the land versus replacement theology. Very important. People are using replacement theology to justify the hatred of the Jews and thinking that they have nothing to do with the future, which is just not right. And it's not biblical. We'll be reviewing that biblical stuff tomorrow night after the show. So again, we'll have the show starting at 5 o'clock CST, go through some more Q drops, go through some more news, and really look at it from a biblical perspective, from an anon perspective, and the news way more comprehensive than you'll get in other shows, which are just giving you news or shows that just kind of talk about Q all the time. And so we try to take all of that together to give you an unmatched show for an hour every single day. We'll have guests coming on too. I think Anna Kate is going to be on the last half hour tomorrow night, talking about her ministry being on Survivor show, going from being a professional poker player to an awesome woman of God, doing the Anna and Kate show on Faith and Freedom TV. And then Thursday, I think next Monday is when when 107 comes back on. We've got Sheila Holm coming back on. It's going to be a great lineup of stuff too. So thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Suze Andy from YouTube. God bless you all. And we will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
See you. God bless.
Elitist media deceives, but Faith and Freedom TV amplifies truth. Our world-leading platform delivers news, teachings, worship, movies, and music rooted in biblical values and constitutional patriotism, inspiring faith and liberty. We inspire, equip, and amplify Christian patriots to share powerful stories of faith, family, and freedom. With live events, thousands of on-demand videos, and access on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android, and iOS, we're transforming culture globally for God and country. New content is coming to ignite faith. Join our mission to counter deception. Visit faithandfreedom.tv and download the Faith and Freedom TV app today.